Finding love at midlife. The prospect of dating again can be difficult at the best of times, but at midlife it comes with another level of complexity. Managing children, a home, a job, family members and finances can make even the idea of finding love daunting.
In addition, past relationship experiences will have shaped your belief systems, which may be keeping you closed to love. In this episode, we're excited to be joined by Katie Phillips, founder of the School of Selflove, and we're discussing some of the ways she helps midlife women call in their soulmate and live their own version of happy ever after. Hi, I'm James Davis.
And I'm Claire Davis.
We're the Midlife Mentors, here to lift the lid on how to achieve health and happiness.
The balanced, no-nonsense way.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Midlife Mentors with me, James.
And me, Claire. How are you all doing? So we're really excited. We have Katie, the founder of the School of Selflove, with us today. We're going to introduce her a little bit more in a second. Just what have we been up to, Mr. D?
Wow, that is a good question, Claire. I feel like this week's flown by since we last sat and did a podcast. We've been doing corporate workshops.
Yes, we have.
Being supporting our clients.
We've been
making
doing
plans for stuff that's coming, getting our retreat,
Yes.
our Marbella retreat, and getting people booked on that already. January and February Marbella retreats.
Yeah, I'll put the link in the show notes actually for they've gone live. So January and February Marbella retreats. Really super excited about that. Back at Punta Romano. And yeah, we've just been on lots and lots of other podcasts and interviews. It's all been a bit crazy, hasn't it?
And we're speculatively finding out about possibilities of an Ibiza retreat over Easter. But we can't say too much about that at the moment because we're still working out the details.
I do actually know about this one. Sometimes James announces things on podcasts without having even spoken to me about it.
I've done lots of stuff you don't know about.
This week or just generally? Don't land yourself in it.
Let's have a go for Beltgate.
Anyway, it is a full moon today. And the biggest solar eclipse we've had.
Biggest solar eclipse of the
century. So I think a lot of people are really feeling it. I know James is. James has pre-moon tension. We call it PMT. James has pre-moon tension every month, don't you, darling?
I do suffer with the moon.
But especially when we're near the water.
Yeah, and it's amazing. This morning actually went down to the sea and the beach has been completely washed away because of the size of the tides we're getting with the moon at the moment. So the power of the moon is a real thing, everyone. And
also, I had dreams last night because we could hear the sea. We're very lucky from how he's laughing from the bedroom. I had dreams about tsunamis.
The thing about Claire and her dreams is, right, I've noticed she always thinks there's deep meaning in them. It's like, oh, I can hear the waves crashing, I dreamt about tsunamis. I watched Narcos, I dreamt about drug lords. I watched Agatha Christie, I was detective.
It's horrible.
Oh, you do have some very meaningful dreams.
I'm not going to tell you anymore.
No.
I'm going to tell someone. I'm going to tell Katie.
Well, enough of our whittering. Let's introduce our amazing guest.
So, Katie, thank you so much for being here. So, Katie, I'll intro her, is the founder of the School of Selflove. She is a women's empowerment master coach, love and dating mentor, and author of The Self-Love Affair, a woman's guide to a daring and mighty life. Sounds wonderful. She is the creator of the Meet Your Soulmate experience, which is transforming midlife women's lives and allowing them to receive love with ease. Her passion and expertise is inspiring midlifers that they can create a life they love and call in the love of their life without burnout or guilt. Hello, my lovely.
Hello,
Hello, guys. So good to be with both of you. I love it.
So great to have you on. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
So great to have you on. Is there anything you wanted to add to that? You know, I know you did the amazing 5-day free challenge, calling in your soulmate. which actually some of my clients, I put it out on some of our social media channels, and some of our clients joined it and they said they absolutely loved it. So it's such a beautiful thing that you were doing.
Thank you. I love it. I feel like it's, it's interesting when you're running a business like I am, and you're so passionate as I am, you want to help everybody. You want to help everyone, and running a business, you make offerings at different price points, but even then it's an investment on some level. So to create something that's completely, utterly free, and I mean, to be honest, when I set it up, so we started doing these, we've done 4 of these 5-day experiences now. And when I first set it up, I didn't realize quite how transformational it would be. I had, I knew it would be a nice experience. I knew there would be some power in it. I didn't know women would go away after 5 days with like major shifts in their belief systems, just really a deep reconnection with who they are, a renewed hope that it is actually possible to find someone in midlife, because that's the big thing, isn't it? In midlife, you think, well, it's done. I've had my chance, or I've missed the boat, or, there's all sorts of belief systems running. Yeah, so to see them feel reconnected to themselves with renewed hope, and some profound, like really profound shifts that, I'm not going to lie, I'm like, well, people usually pay me for that. How did you do that for free? How did that happen? But that's wonderful. But that's the power of energy. That's the power of working with energy and helping people to shift their energy. It's we all have that ability to do that for ourselves. And we all just need a guide to point us in the right direction, because no one taught us how, right?
Exactly. We always say, we're just facilitating. You've got the answers within you, and we're facilitating. I just want to say, actually, like how we met. We've only ever met online, like most things these days. But
online dating.
Online dating. So it was actually James that alerted me to what you were doing. I was like, oh, that looks amazing. Maybe we could do something together. So we set up a call together, and I was in Starbucks, I think, in London. So just before we came to Marbella. And I know we'd set aside about half an hour to chat, but 45 minutes later, we were just and there was just a real connection to what you were saying about the work that you do that really resonated with me in the way that I, for sure, called in James into my world. And the work, you've already mentioned it, working with energy is the most important element. So
yeah, well, I love, by the way, just to say, with energy, working with energy, and obviously energy is either magnetic or repelling, right? So and that when it comes to calling in your soulmate, you're either attracting, magnetizing, or you're repelling. And if you're having trouble, there's reasons why you're repelling. And I guess we'll talk about that today. But because everything's energy, there's you and I, we meet. And of course, we both called in James's, because like attracts like, right? And we're hitting it off. And my husband's James. My husband's James.
There were so many moments where we had those like squeaky girly moments, which I still love. I love those moments.
I love that. Yeah.
And we're like, oh, me too.
Listen, every woman needs a good James.
I'm with you. I fully agree.
We do. Yeah. We've got good Jameses.
Yeah, we do.
So, Katie, what inspired you to start helping midlife women call in their soulmate? Why was it?
Well, I am one and was one. I was so I was 8 years single parenting before I met James. And there was a huge journey within that. And it was when I hit 40 and then 41, and I was like, oh God, I've missed the boat, or I had my chance. I mean, my son's father and I, we were very much in love. It wasn't meant to be, that relationship. And I'd had that big love of my life, and I'd had another one actually much earlier on. But I'd also had a lot of dysfunctional relationships, and there was actually big dysfunction in my relationship with my son's father. I won't go into that now, but I hit 40, then I was 41, 42. I was still single, and I genuinely thought, well, Katie, you've had your chance. It's not like you haven't experienced big love. You have a beautiful son as a result of that. Wonderful. maybe that's it for you. Like, I genuinely didn't think I could have another chance. And then there's other stuff that comes into play at midlife. You've got, for a lot of women, you've got elderly parents, you're juggling a career, you've got the kids, there's so much going on that the idea that you even have time to find someone, let alone nurture that relationship, let alone invite them in to become a part of your already pretty, like, kind of organized life with all the things you've got going. There's a lot of pieces, like moving pieces to the puzzle for someone to then be able to slot into. And this was my experience. I had all of that going on, and so many belief systems that it wasn't going to be possible at this point in life. But then you've got all the hormonal shifts and health stuff going on, which adds a whole other level of complexity to it. I mean, my first year with James, so honestly, remember, okay, it's 8 years single. I meet this gorgeous 6'5" human that I decide, how lucky am I? We begin this, relationship. We move in together very quickly. I mean, we were living together within 6 months of knowing each other, which is fast when you've both got kids and lives, so to bring all that together was amazing. But my first year with James, which is meant to be when you're like, it's hot, right? Is that?
Well, I remember talking about it. You were hot, but for different reasons.
Right.
I'm sure you were hot anyway, but you were having different things that were hot.
But that's it. So we'd moved in together. I was going to bed at night wrapped in towels because my night sweats were so bad, and I got dreadful cystic acne. I mean, it was so. This anxiety kicked in, which became like a depression because I just couldn't add up what all of this stuff that was going on for me, and I thought, this is just something that midlife women have to deal with. You've got that. There's enough around dating, the worries and concerns and lack of confidence and so on for any woman when they're dating to start with, let alone all of these levels and layers and complexities when you're in midlife to juggle. And I relate to that. And I think in the dating world, the younger generations are more supported and more seen than midlifers. I mean, it's just a thing. You sort of hit midlife, and at this point in life, you do start to feel a sense of invisibility creeping in as you get older, and wondering, like, that invisibility is a real block to calling in love. And I want to see those women. There's a lot of women in midlife, and probably largely to do with peri-menopause, and you guys talk about andropause, that actually has relationships end.
Yes.
And there's more and more people at this point in life that are single and wondering, could I do it again? Is it possible again? And they've got the health things going on, and they need to be seen, they need to be heard, they need to be supported, they need to know that it is possible for them, they need to understand what is blocking them to calling in and having what they desire. And as a woman that's been there, done it, got the t-shirt, I want to support those women because I felt the same,
And it is about the self-love, isn't it? We'll probably go into this in a minute, but like you say, that energy, it's not conscious, but that energy is either attracting or repelling. So if you're thinking of these things about yourself, and thinking these things about the possibilities or not possibilities, and obviously it's not drawing in that soulmate. And it can be incredibly difficult. It's such amazing work that you're doing. So
that's a really inspiring story. I mean, you've touched on some of the things there, some of the challenges midlifers face, midlife women face about getting back into relationships. But what are the big challenges that you see coming up time and time again?
Oh my goodness. Well, it's the juggle, because you really are adulting at midlife, aren't you? With the kids, the parents, the career, life generally, and the health pieces. That's absolutely huge. Those shifts. I mean, thankfully, and with work like you guys are doing, and thankfully, we are talking about these hormonal shifts, and we're making it. We're normalizing it because it is normal, right? But then what I see a lot as well is it's not, this isn't unique to midlifers. This is anybody. Like the piece about calling in love really requires you to begin to understand. I mean, for anybody, it requires you to begin to understand masculine, feminine energy dynamics, to start to understand energetically what is blocking you to having the relationship experience you want to have. Why are you only attracting in emotionally unavailable men? Why are you why are you experiencing the drama you seem to experience back to back in relationships? Like, what's that about? So, you don't have to be in midlife to be experiencing the majority of what I'm working with women around. I think one of the biggest initial blocks and struggles to the women and men, actually, I don't work with that many men. I do have a handful of male clients, but I predominantly work with women. The biggest block is them thinking that it's another thing to do. It's like, oh God, just add it to the list.
I'm exhausted.
I'm done. Like, I've got so much going on. I'm managing so much, not least, I was just doing it before, taking all of my supplements, like not least, like getting all the supplements in every day to support my health and my hormonal shifts. But now I've got to figure out this world of online dating. Now I've got to figure out where he is, and I've got to create a profile, and I've like, what do I have to do to get him? And it's this kind of doing, taking, and it's a disempowered, masculine, transactional energy. It's like, and that's why they're exhausted. And we've got to shift that. We have to shift that.
So interesting you say that. I mean, I found myself suddenly and surprisingly single. I think I'm 41, was I?
How? That was so surprising. How can someone as gorgeous as you find themselves single?
Well, quite.
I'm glad you did.
I know, for me, that left me like, I was just like, my confidence was shot, I just had like no confidence. Like my energy was like, it's interesting you say about dating. So you start to like try and dip your toe in the water, and then you sign up to the apps. People are like, yeah, I'm over here. Why don't you come meet me? And you're like, do I want to go all the way over there?
The funniest thing was that was when he was living in Ibiza, and it was hardly a long way to go to meet someone in the next town. So that's how not bothered you could be.
Well, I know what it's like. It is challenging, like you were saying at the beginning. I think when you at that stage in your life, you're kind of like, oh, wow, I'm in this new position. I don't quite know how this now works for me. And then, on top of that, my confidence is shot anyway. You kind of feel like, oh, I am on the shelf a bit. Who would want me now? Those are all things that played out for me. And it wasn't until I did the work on myself that, I managed to attract Claire.
Yeah, see, so it does work. It works both ways. So when we're speaking about masculine, and I'm sure we'll go into more detail on that in a minute, but when we're talking about masculine and feminine energy, we've obviously, I say obviously, but we all have it. A man, someone that identifies as male, whether you identify as male or female, we all have masculine, feminine energy. And the part of the work is really, oh gosh, it's a masterclass. Part of the work is tapping into and accessing your feminine energy, whether you're a man or a woman, so that you can move into a space of allowing and receiving what you desire to come in, rather than being in that, what we've all learned to do predominantly is to be in the doing and making happen energy, which when it comes to love, it's just the wrong approach. But we haven't learned it's safe to kind of surrender back into receiving.
It's so true. And you end up suffocating it, don't you? You're holding on too tight to getting it, that you suffocate it.
Yeah, and push it away. You're repelling it. Mm-hmm.
And I did that for sure. And, we were saying about one of the biggest challenges, I think by midlife, one of the challenges you probably do face with working with men and women that you work with is the fact that we, by the time we've got midlife, we have got all of those years of those ingrained behaviours and ingrained beliefs, where it's like been a self-fulfilling prophecy, and they've just dug deeper and deeper into their belief systems. So they've become more solid and a definition of who they are. So that's probably one of the big challenges you have. But
Yes, that's such a good point. Such a good point, because at midlife, that's the thing. It's like, because I have worked with women in their 20s who've called in their soulmate, and they have, you know, then you work with midlife women, they've got double the number of years of ingrained conditioning, programming, belief systems, life experience, proving that men can't be trusted. You know, like
exactly. And then the masculine, you add to that, by the time we get to midlife, we have so many of us women will identify with this. We've become very operational in our masculinity because we've had to feel like we've survived, we pushed through pain, we pushed through grief, we pushed through these things, and you end up coming from a very masculine place, don't you? Holding it all together, just making it through, striving, you know, trying to keep that power together rather than moving into that soft feminine energy as well.
Yeah. Well, you know, we need the masculine.
Yeah.
Mothers need their masculine energy. It's their masculine energy that gets stuff done, that pays the school fees, that packs the school lunch, that deals with the homework, that drives them to hockey, that, you know, the stuff. It's the masculine energy that makes the business work. It's the, you know, we need it. But you can have both. Like, this is a big part of the work. It's not an either or. It's like, yes, you can use your masculine to make things happen. There's nothing wrong with that. Big chunk of the work I'm doing with women is showing them how to bring forward their empowered masculine energy, because usually what's happening is there's a disempowered masculine energy running the show, which is why they're so exhausted. Their empowered masculine will make things happen, but at the same time do it in a way that has them feel good and take care of them. It's honoring of the feminine. And it's like, you can have that and the feminine. It's not an either or. You can make shit happen and take care of yourself. You can make things happen and allow yourself to surrender and receive your desires and what you need. Like, you can have both. And that's a huge mental attitude kind of shift.
Honestly, Katie, massive, you know, even in a relationship, that's a huge journey I have been on, even in the last 6 months, and I will continue to go on. It's like never ending, isn't it, in a good sense, but receiving, you know, not just striving, pushing, planning, creating, but receiving that energy has been really hard for me. But then I think that's from past experiences.
Well, because we've learned, most of us have learned, it's societal conditioning, it's parental, it's generational conditioning. We've learned that to feel loved in the world, to feel safe in the world, to feel significant in the world, like all these basic human needs, to have those be met, we've learned that we have to go external and prove our worth to have that experience of being loved, significant, safe, accepted, all that. And so the more that we put ourselves, we move externally, it's like an external search to have that experience, the more exhausted we are. And it's a reconditioning to understand you don't have to prove your worth. You don't have to do anything to be valued. Just being you, being you is valuable. And the more we can settle into that energy, the more magnetic and attractive we are. So we can kind of sort of sit back and receive.
Beautifully put.
Love that.
It's so true. It's so true. And when we had these conversations briefly, that initial time, that totally resonated with me. And I know I did sit back, and you know, my self-worth, I did so much self-care and self-worth and self-love. And I know when I did a live with you, I talked about this, the way that I did that when everything else was out of control. The one thing that I was able to control was my self-care and looking after, you know, I was on antidepressants, but I didn't want to be on them forever. So I started looking into nutrition and exercise and looking after myself. And that self-love and self-care started helping me realize that I'm lovable and I'm worthy and I'm enough. And I don't have to keep proving myself and don't have to keep going after emotionally unavailable men and, you know, not having the relationships I want, because actually I was worth this time of having a relationship that was aligned with my values.
Yeah. And so as you're doing that work on yourself and developing your self-worth, self-confidence, self-love, self-trust, developing that emotional relationship with yourself, you're suddenly emotionally available to yourself. As you start doing all of that work, you're energetically, that's where you're vibrating. That's your frequency is that. Yeah. You know, your frequency is that. And so of course you're going to attract in that. You just don't get to be with an emotionally available person if you're not emotionally available to yourself. You don't get to have intimacy and trust with someone if you don't have that with yourself first. It's you don't. No. And that's why calling in your soulmate is nothing about the how to call in your soulmate. There's no gimmicks like what's the right text to send. Like I get that's all helpful. Even your dating profile, yeah, it's helpful to understand how to do that properly. And I do bring in experts to help my clients with that. But to me, that's like, it's the tiniest piece of the puzzle. The big piece of the puzzle is where's your energy at? Yeah. And that's what will call in what you want or what you don't want.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So kind of touched on this, but what if someone said to you, what is the most important factor to calling in my soulmate? How would you answer
that? You've got to clear we have sort of been talking about it, haven't we? You've got to clear the energetic blocks to love. So there's sort of 4 areas that I would focus on. You've got to start checking out your mindset. You've got to look at what are my belief systems, because what we believe is what we're creating. What we believe is what we're repelling. What we believe is what we're calling in. So what do I believe? And are those, and really it's an awareness creation piece. It's like, what do I believe about men because of my life experience the last 10, 15, 20 years? What do I believe about men because of what my dad modeled to me when I was 4 years old? Like it goes right back. You know, a lot of the work I'm doing with my clients is inner child work and really going right back to their conditioning about what they learned around the masculine, full stop, masculine energy, men, the whole thing. It's a big piece is what you're believing. And then it's your emotional pieces and your emotional blocks. Like most of us haven't learned to take the time and space to really acknowledge how we really, really feel and to allow those emotions, because usually the ones we're blocking down, the ones that are making us sick, which you guys would be like experts at that, the stuff we're blocking and pushing down is frightening. It's terrifying. We don't really want to go there. No one's even shown us how to deal with those big emotions. But if we don't acknowledge them and allow them to be felt and processed, we're not healing. And it's the blocking of that emotion it's so repelling. Like you said, you know, you want an emotionally available person. Can you relate to yourself emotionally? And and it might even be just acknowledging, this is a huge one. This was huge for me as well, was just acknowledging, because so I'm a very high functioning woman. Like I've got big goals and desires and I'm like all about going and making them happen. And I have created a good life for myself. When I was single, I had a good life. I loved my business. I had a great relationship with my son. I had friends. I was traveling the world. It was all good. But a huge block to love for me was not actually stopping and acknowledging that I was so lonely and I was so tired doing everything. And I would wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I'd be like, I'm on my own. And I don't want to be. And I'd then wake up at 7 o'clock, the alarm would go off and I'd be like, yeah, doing it on my own again, another day. And everyone was going out, you know, the family holidays and the things. And it was just me on my own or me and my son. And truthfully, I was really, really lonely. And I had to acknowledge the pain of that as part of my journey, because while I didn't acknowledge that was the truth of me, I wasn't allowing and accepting all of me. And if I wanted to be with someone that allowed and accepted all of me, you know, I had to do that with myself first. It was huge. And this is the self-love piece.
But like you say, it can be so terrifying. I see this a lot with our clients and the women that I work one-to-one with. It can be so terrifying. And we have put all of these structures within our life to avoid sitting down with any of those emotions.
Totally.
And it can be so terrifying. I think people feel like they're going to get lost in them, which is why what you do and what so many people in the world now are doing, and what we hope to do with our clients, is just to create a safe space for people to be able to dip their toe in a little bit, because it'll be more than they were anyway. So just dip their toe in a little bit. And like you said as well, it's awareness. It's just being self-aware. So we're on autopilot most of the time, just doing, and then there's these moments where you're like, oh, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And then from there, it speeds up a bit, because you're just finally aware. Of course, it's you that's holding yourself back. You need to get out your own way. But you're finally aware of what your patterns of behavior are, what your triggers are, and therefore your belief systems are behind that.
Yeah, totally. And then that then leads into perfectly this piece around having to develop a spiritual relationship with yourself. And beginning, so you've got the mental piece, the emotional piece, and then the spiritual piece, which is it's just starting to value being with you, and prioritizing getting to know yourself and love yourself. I mean, you were talking before, James, about like what are the biggest struggles with women calling in love. Well, they know what they don't want. They don't know what they do want. And how do you know what you want if you don't even have that relationship with yourself first? So we have to really, again, because most of us have been conditioned to be in our masculine doing energy all the time, we haven't learned to value just stopping and being and paying attention to who am I and what do I value and how do I feel and what do I want? Like we're so busy serving everybody else and being all things to all people, because that's how we get our value and worth, by the way. If I'm of service to everyone, they'll say, thanks, you're amazing, you're great. But can I learn to do that for myself? Can I just sit and be and receive me? And it's a feminine practice, this piece around connecting with yourself spiritually and knowing authentically who you are. But if we don't do that, then we're not in that energy vibration of being connected with what I call sort of source energy, life, God, universe energy. If we don't get to connect with that and live in that flow, if we don't prioritize our spiritual well-being and our own spiritual connection, because it's when we're connected to that energy, that's when we get our downloads, we get our intuition sparks alive. It's our inspiration. And it's like, well, suddenly, but that's where you're in receiving mode, because when you can stop and be and connect with yourself and God, you're receptive, your energy is open and receptive. You're not doing anything. And so it's in that space you get the guidance. Like for me, I met James on Bumble. Now, I was totally against internet dating and online dating. I was over it all. I was done with all that nonsense. But the way the guidance and the way I just got this, it was like literally a voice of God moment. Go on Bumble. It was. I mean, it came through a human person, but
Go, Katie. Go on Bumble.
It was. And I was like, go on Bumble. Like I felt it in my body. It wasn't like a to-do, another thing on my to-do list. Oh, better bloody well sign up to Bumble. It was a go on Bumble. There's a whole story to that. But you're not in that receptive space to receive the intuition or to hear it when someone suggests it, to hear it and feel that it's true for you or not.
And that is a practice. I mean, lots of people, again, they go into that space or try that stuff, connecting with our higher self, with source energy, and they're like, I'm doing this for a reason. I'm doing this to get something. Again, you're going in it to get something rather than receive.
Being versus doing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Being versus doing.
Well, it's also moving out of the transactional doing taking energy, which most of us have learned.
I'll do this so I can get this.
Yeah, exactly. And then we want to move into giving and receiving energy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we've covered that one, haven't we?
We had another question. Yes. We actually talked about that. One of the questions I did want to ask was like, can you talk us a little bit more around being versus doing when it comes to calling a soulmate? But I think we've covered that in such great depth.
Well, it's interesting. I read your parallels over the work we do.
So many parallels, aren't there?
I'm guessing you see the same with relationships. People want the end result quite quickly. And they look at the external factors. It's like, say, oh, if I do this, I see the same thing. Like, oh, just give me a meal plan and I'll lose the weight. It's like, well, no, it's not about that. It's about actually changing your behavior, getting to know yourself, getting to really know yourself. And like you say, in midlife, like our beliefs become very entrenched. And where people go wrong is like they mistake their beliefs for reality. But your belief is just an opinion. It's not the truth. And we're capable of changing those beliefs, and I think it's this time of life is a great time to actually go, well, here I am, this is where I am now. Do I like it? Or would I like to actually change it for something better? And if I do want to do that, who's the person I need to become to do it? Which is similar to dating. It's like, who do I need to become, and how aware am I of me and what my being is to actually pull in that soulmate for me?
Yeah, exactly. And it requires huge faith and trust, doesn't it?
Yes.
That the way it will happen will be just perfect for you. Because when we move into receiving mode, we think, no, we're not in control anymore. We don't get to be in control and yet it's way more powerful and way more attractive and magnetic than if you're like nitty gritty controlling everything, because that energy you can feel, it's like
suffocating, isn't it?
Repelling.
Yes. Needy. It's like saying to the universe, I need
desperate
to be happy. I need it in order to be happy, rather than I'm happy anyway. I'm happy anyway, and that will just add to my life. Yeah.
It's like what I really encourage my clients to is to prioritize feeling good every day.
Yes.
And from that space, if your intention and your focus is on feeling good, it's pleasure, it's joy, it's fun, it's tapping into your desires, all of these beautiful feminine qualities. If you could approach dating from that energy, like, could it just be fun? Could you just meet another human being and relate and just have a nice time without this, well, if I go on that date, then I get him? Like, is he, because that is such a gross energy.
It's the same in
Shouldn't
business.
Be a transactional relationship.
It's the same in business. It's the same in business as well. Like when I can see the difference between who James and I are now, between what we were like even like a couple of years ago. Sorry, that's Lola. Decided she wants to make lots of noise in the background. So even what we were a few years ago, that actually, if you hold on too tight to wanting something, and from a business
a relationship,
but in a business sense, if you're holding on too tight for it, you repel it. So you might have a conversation with someone, or you might have a conversation with a corporate, for example, that we might do some work with, and you come off and you're like, oh, I hope I did all right. I hope that went well. When you're looking at your phone, waiting for them to call all the time, you're not allowing it to just come to you, because you don't believe that the things that do come to you or don't come to you are meant to be either way. So you feel like you have to hold on to everything so tight because you're in the controlling seat, but actually you're not really. It's either going to happen or it isn't. And if you can just stay in that focused present state, what comes to you is meant to be yours. So that's a very hard pill to swallow for some people, I can imagine, especially doing the work you do.
It's huge. It's a massive behavioral shift. But what we're talking about here is it's not just about how to call on your soulmate. Like, everything in your life starts to shift. You're just relating a business example. It's my clients, their businesses are completely changing. They start making more money. Things just seem to drop into their lap more easily. Their health starts to improve. you know, they generally, like, everything starts to shift because it's literally, you're literally learning a different way of doing life.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
What would you say to a woman, or indeed a man, who might be listening to this and they're struggling to believe that they could ever do it, it's ever going to happen for them?
Do you know what? One of my favorite things to remind people is he's looking for you too.
Oh, I'm going to weep. Gorgeous.
But isn't that true? This is what we forget. Again, when we're in this sort of, because when we're in that transactional, disempowered masculine energy of like doing, taking, we forget to be open and receptive to, well, actually the kind of person I want to be with, who is all the, you know, the emotionally available, financially stable, you know, fun loving, caring, gonna love my kids, like all these things, the person, this amazing, gorgeous human being that you want to be with, of course he's desiring to love and be loved just like you. He's just another big open heart that just wants to be with someone. And we get so, when you're in the doing taking, it's all about me and what I need and what I want and what I've got to do to make it happen. And we don't soften into I'm looking at your face, Claire, you look like you're about to really cry.
So beautiful.
But it's that, you know, it's just opening up into compassion and what's the word, just, it's hard to actually put words to what I'm feeling when I talk about this. It's just like this idea that he's looking for you too. I don't know, it softens your heart, doesn't it? And it has you just sort of tap into the truth of, oh yeah, because the guy or the girl I want to be with wants what I want. And by the way, we have to remember there is only one. And yeah, you're going to meet loads of people that aren't the one. And that's the thing. You can decide that, I've met this guy and he's not the one. It just proves that he doesn't exist. And I've met another one. It's not the one. It just proves it doesn't exist. Well, actually, what if you've just decided, like, it's a good thing. Like, if it's not him, and one of my favorite affirmations is this or something even better. So if it's not him, something even better is on its way. But if you know, the law of increment is we have to just keep taking steps forward. Everything is progress. If you do nothing, well, you're going to get nothing. But you've got to put yourself out there. It takes a lot of confidence and self-trust and bravery, but that's part of the inner work, which we've been talking about. And, you know, you're clearing the way. Everyone that's not him, and you're clearing the way, and you're enjoying the process because you're choosing to have fun with dating, not have it be this like doing, taking energy. And you're allowing him to come in. You're allowing him to find you because he's looking for you too. You know, I think,
you know, when we hear a truth bomb, it goes straight to the heart. And I think what you said there, our heart resonates with it. And I think so many people listening to this, you know, I do believe that would have gone straight to their heart because the truth hears the truth. The heart hears the truth. So yeah, really, really lovely thing that you said.
Katie, thank you so much.
Thank you
So do tell us,
how,
listeners, if you're inspired to reach out to Katie, how can people find you, get a hold of you?
Oh, well, we're all over the interwebs, sort of everywhere. Well, you could probably start by coming over to our website, theschoolofself.love. I love that I got a .love, by the way. theschoolofself.love. We're on Instagram as @theschoolofself.love. And you probably want to start by coming and joining my next free 5-day challenge, the Meet Your Soulmate challenge. We've got one. We run them all the time. We've got one coming up starting on the 14th of February, of course, Valentine's Day. That's coming up soon. Start there. Follow us on Insta. We're all over Facebook. We're on LinkedIn. We've got a great YouTube channel, actually.
You have, by the way. You really have. I checked that out, actually. And is that under the same kind of handle?
Yeah, it's youtube.com. It's weird with YouTube. youtube.com/C/the School of Self-Love.
Awesome.
Great. Well, Katie,
thank you so much.
Just,
Thank you.
I knew it was going to be awesome.
It's made me feel romantic and bubbly.
Where are you taking me? Where are you taking me tonight?
Take you into the woods.
Always something inappropriate from James right at the end. Always, it wouldn't be our podcast if James didn't say something inappropriate. Katie, thank you so much for being here. It's been an absolute joy, and I know so many people listening to this, even if they are in a relationship, you know, we'll get a lot from this. So again, absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mwah.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
You've been listening to the Midlife Mentors with Claire and James Davis.
We'd love to hear from you. So drop us a line at info@themidlifementors.com with any questions or topic suggestions.
And make sure you join us on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. You can find us under the Midlife Mentors.
Yeah. What? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.